Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is a show designed to save the world or make the world safe for ADHDers. I am a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist. I'm in private practice, and about half of my practice is ADHD. Maybe a little bit more now with this. Not sure what there is about our current predicament, but apparently there are more people feeling like they need to be evaluated for this stuff. Anyway, I do a lot of evaluations, not quite as much treatment as I used to do, but I've been doing this for over 35 years. In addition, and perhaps my biggest qualification, is that I am the parent of an ADHD adult. Okay, at the time I was the parent of an ADHD child, we didn't know very much about ADHD. I say this probably every week, but it's important to kind of understand that I've probably made every mistake you can possibly make in raising an ADHD child. And this is despite an awful lot of training and not having any particular problems with anger or frustration or any of that stuff. But it was still, we just didn't know very much about ADHD back, 35 years ago or so. Since then, we have done a lot of research, or a lot of research has been done. A lot of new medications are out. And there's way more public awareness of ADHD. So when I was the father of an ADHD child, even in the profession, it was hard to find people who knew a lot about ADHD. Matter of fact, I had my son evaluated by a couple of guys that had postdocs in pediatric psychology, and they were not helpful at all. So basically, fortunately, one of the things you learn about when you're in psychology is that you can pretty much learn about almost anything. So I started going to workshops, seminars, started reading a lot, looked at a lot of research, and I think basically trained myself to be an expert. And I say that very humbly because it's not easy, and it's not easy keeping up because things keep changing now. But one of the things I started doing with my patients, and to some extent with my son, although it was very late on in his development, but is what I've started calling strategic parenting. Okay, for those of you who aren't all that military, I guess, there are two approaches to a problem. There's a strategic approach and a tactical approach. The strategic approach in the military is about winning the war. The tactical approach is about winning the battle. Okay, and unfortunately, most of the treatment approaches for ADHD were tactical. Behavior modification. Reward what you like and punish what you don't like, kind of thing. So you can win the immediate confrontation, the immediate situation. Strategic parenting is based on the long view. When you are trying to get your kid to do his homework or make up his bed or pick up his clothes or quit screaming, you're not really thinking long term. You're thinking of immediate. This needs to be done, and it will be done by George or else. Strategic is, what do I want this kid to be like when he or she's 20 years old? When he or she is an adult? What kinds of things Do I want them to, what kind of values do I want them to have? What kind of things do I want them to be able to do? What's important and what's maybe not so important? But you're thinking long term, and that's a whole different way of looking at the problem or the difficulty or the disorder, whatever you want to call it, than a tactical. I'm going to get him to make his bed every morning because companies are paying good money for people who know how to make beds. No, they're not. Okay, so in line with a strategic approach to parenting is that one of the things that to have a strategic approach to anything is you have to analyze it. You have to figure out what the forces are that are at work and that sort of thing. With your child, your strategic analysis is strengths and weaknesses. I mean, you're pretty much getting a daily demonstration of weaknesses. You know, temper tantrums, resistance to doing homework, doesn't finish stuff, all that kind of thing. But you sometimes get lost in that. And you forget that there are a whole lot of abilities, talents, unique and positive things that your ADHDer brings to the table. And it is really important for you to be aware of that and actually pay really close attention to that. I frequently, I know with patients, I definitely write it down, and I double check with both the parents and the kid what I'm seeing with strengths and ability. What do you naturally do? What are you good at? What's the thing that you can do and you enjoy doing it and it doesn't bother you to keep doing it? As a matter of fact, one of the good things is that a lot of ADHD people, perhaps all of them, certainly most of the ones I've worked with, have the ability to hyperfocus. That just means that they can get lost. If it's something they like, they can get lost doing it and just not be aware that they've been working at it for 8-10 hours straight without a rest. That is a very important thing to be aware of with your child. What do they do naturally? What do they do a lot of? What do they do? What are the areas that their hand naturally seems to fall to, as the poets say? You're thinking, you don't have to be thinking about whether they're going to Harvard. I mean, that could certainly happen, but that's not the primary focus. What you're trying to focus on primarily is what are their strength areas and how do we develop those? And then we'll worry about how they will help get them a job or get them into college or that sort of thing. And you've got to be open to the idea that maybe college isn't in the future. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, because I have had plenty of patients who have gone on to college and gone to professional schools, medical school, law school, and so on. That is a different question, though. It's what are they really good at? Are they artistic, musical, athletic? Are their social skills off the chart? Do they like to wheel and deal, buy and sell? Do they trade their toys with other kids? Do they actually enjoy going out and selling their Little League candy? Those kind of things you need to be aware of. And even video games, okay? So we've spent a lot of time, saying, oh, video games are bad for you. They are addictive. They, da-da-da. Well, now colleges are offering e-game teams that play video games to represent the college, and they're getting a full scholarship. And People are entering contests involving video games and making big bucks playing video games. Plus, we know that folks who play video games make better surgeons than people who don't play video games. They are better pilots than people who don't play video games. And, honestly, the research on the good things about video games are not quite as far along as they should be, probably. But I mean, what you've got is the notion that even if your child's only talent seems to be playing video games, there is a whole bunch about playing video games that requires some detailed knowledge of technology, because these folks tend to use super souped up computers and have to know a lot about them, a lot about the mechanics to be able to have a machine that allows them to be competitive. So that's the entree into technology. And some people with ADHD are really into technology. They are super technology geeks. They always have, they're early adopters. They always have the latest technology in whatever area, the best microphone, the best software, the best camera, depending on whatever they're doing. But being really good at technology is incredibly important in our society now. And after us, basically shutting down the country for 9 months, or 3 months, I'm sorry, 3 months, the dependence on internet access and that sort of thing is going to increase, and more things are going to be done over the internet. So people who know technology and how to make it sing and dance for them are going to be in high demand. So, but it's important, people tend to look at the negative. I mean, that's the way we're trained. We schools focus on, oh, you made a mistake here, you didn't carry the 2, or whatever. Our parents tend to look at the mistakes we make. If you just sit quietly and do your homework, nobody's going to pay attention to you. But if you throw a chair, wow, you've got the whole family looking at you. So, as a parent, we tend to not pay as much attention when everything's going good, when everything's nice and quiet and peaceful. But we need to do that. We need to pay attention when things are. What is he or she doing when things are quiet? What is upstairs drawing, doing cartoons, making a comic strip, painting a picture, throwing a ball, hooking up a new piece of tech equipment to his computer or her computer. All those things are important for you to know, and you have to pay attention. You have to work a little bit at paying attention, because it's important to have a really objective look at your child, the strengths and the weaknesses. Because no matter what you do, the strengths are going to be way more important than the weaknesses. Okay. ADHDers are blessed or cursed, depending on your point of view, with an attention-focused or an interest-focused attention system. Interest-focused attention system. That is, if they're interested in it, they can do the heck out of it. They can pay attention. They can observe for hours in their area of interest. If they're not interested, they have a terrible time paying attention and doing anything. They just don't. They're not compliant. Okay, compliant obedient, whatever word you want to use. But understand that most of the systems you're in as a child in our society are based on compliance. Follow the rules. School is probably the biggest one, compliance. And I say this every week because I think it's so amazing. We have teachers in my area for whom 50% of the grades they give are based on turning in the homework and the other assignments, projects, and so on time. That's it, 50% for that. That will train you to be a cubicle dweller for the rest of your life, but it is not going to change the world. I guarantee you, it is not. So your ADHD child is not going to do real well in that situation. But many of them, when they get out of school and out of the restrictive systems, blossom. Okay? But you have to have set the groundwork for that to happen. You have to know their strengths. You have to encourage their strengths. Give them the equipment they need if they need equipment. Give them the training they need if they need training. Give them just the time to do it if they need the time to do it. But you want to encourage their strengths. It is vital to the whole strategic approach to things. I mean, I can give you, well, the only example I can think of is why having a good notion of your capabilities, your child's strengths, his or her abilities, capabilities, whatever you want to call them, is, can you imagine a general trying to fight a war and not knowing what his armies are capable of? What his Air Force can do? What his Navy can do? There's definitely no way to win a war that way, okay? And I'm not saying that raising ADHD kids is a war, but I am saying that if you are ignorant of your child's strengths, you are going to be wasting precious time, and you only got them for so long, and then they're going to go jumping out into the world, and you want them as well prepared as you can have them. So knowing their strengths, encouraging their strengths is a vital part of, I think I was talking last week about resilience, and that's a big part of it, is encouraging their strengths, their abilities to the max, because that's probably some version of what they're going to do with their adult life. Okay, well, that's me for this week. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras. I am a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist in private practice, and this show is designed to make the world safe for ADHDers, because remember, the only people who change the world are people who think outside the box. And guess what? Your child is an outside the box thinker in spite of him or herself. They can't help it. They don't think like everybody else, and they are probably never going to be comfortable sitting in a cubicle, and that's part of your strategic analysis as well. So I'm going to talk some more about this, and I don't know how far to take it. I have thought off and on about teaching a course about it, but I'm still thinking about that. We'll let you know how that develops. And so we'll catch you next week. My website is terrygingrassphd.com. Somewhere around here, down below or above, by the side, I can't remember which. You can leave comments and ask questions, and please do. It is a bit of a job of work of getting content for these shows all the time. And I've been doing this for a little over 3 years now. But that's part of what we do to help the community, I think, and hopefully it does. Okay, catch you next week, same time.